in the absence of a Savior. I may have a slight Messiah concept. What a just like. Thanks. I may have a slight Messiah complex. I started young with worms. The rain would saturate the soil and push their bodies up out of the ground on the asphalt. And I couldn't bear to see them the next day, stretched out, dehydrated, beyond my help. So I'd pull on my yellow boots and my red rain jacket, take up my green umbrella, and patrol the streets of Burnsville, flinging worms from concrete to grass again and again, around and around the block I would go until it grew dark and my mother would come out on the front stoop and call me in for supper. And no matter how long I stayed out saving worms, their bodies would still be scattered dead along the route to school like some kind of anti-yellow brick road. But that didn't stop me. At summer camp, I would try to save kids. Not for Jesus. I figured that best left to the professionals. I tried to save the misfits. I would befriend them, try to take the edge off the loneliness. In truth, I was a bit of a misfit myself. But I could hide it if I didn't let anyone get too close. So I'd come home from camp with this ragtag bunch of new friends, and my mother would throw up her hands and say, "You are like a magnet for weirdos. Where do you even find these people?" And they would all stay just as misfitted as ever, but that didn't stop me. When I was married and planning a family, even though all our parts for that process worked fine, I said, we should adopt. There are too many kids in the world without homes. And my husband said no. But I worked him over like water over a stone. And now we have 2 fantastic adopted kids. It is so hard. Some days, many days, I wish someone would save me from the misery of parenting. And if I'm really honest with myself, I know what the saving is about. When I was small, my sister was born with Down syndrome. An even number of chromosomes in every cell meant they didn't line up neatly in her body, ushering in a whole lot of suffering. And while she was the most magnificent person I ever knew, she still died too soon, only 37 years old. I held her as she took her last breath. I couldn't save her. I always knew I could never save her. Maybe all this time I've had it wrong. Maybe instead of focusing on saving, I ought to be focusing on savoring the aching beauty of this world, to love recklessly, knowing eventually everything must die. Perhaps then I'll cast off my boots, my coat, my umbrella, to be as bare and vulnerable as the worms, throw back my head and feel the full force of the rain on my face.